In case you've been living under a rock, I'm going to break the news to you that the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, was assassinated in the middle of Manhattan a few days ago by a person who, or at least the main suspect who certainly seems to have done it, is a 26-year-old guy named Luigi Mangione. I feel like generally news like this doesn't belong on our show.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But there's a lot of interesting political fallout. So when I first hear that the CEO of a healthcare company, of a health insurance company, has been assassinated, I think, the perpetrator of this is probably someone who's had to deal with American healthcare. Because we have previously done a deep dive.
One of our deepest of dives.
Into the American healthcare system and how broken it is. And there are several victims of it. And it certainly seems like Luigi here was one of those victims. He had back surgery, I think, a year ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Which we don't really have the details on whether that radicalized him, but it certainly seems like it could have. And it's bringing up interesting questions about what people do when they're pushed too far and they don't have any outlet, and it seems like the political system won't
respond to
their will. There are people who are praising him, the assassin here, praising him for
sticking it to the CEO, fighting back against corporate America, whatever way they want to frame it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll begin with, I thought it was really funny his name was Luigi. That was my first thought.
It is.
Second, it was interesting to me that people die all the time. Okay, people get shot all the time. People get killed all the time. But this assassination was on the front page of the New York Times for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It still is the biggest story in the news cycle right now.
And that says something. I think there was a general belief that from the media figures that we would report this story and all of America would be aghast about how terrible and sad this is and disgusting. And then they all got a really rude awakening. And I think we all got a very rude awakening when a bunch of people didn't hate on Luigi and assign Luigi as the bad guy right away. Now, from my point of view, I'll be pretty upfront. I do not think Luigi is a hero. I don't think what he did was good. I don't think what he did was just or reasonable or responsible or good in any way whatsoever. I'm not even going to put a but at the end of that sentence.
Okay.
There isn't. I don't think it's good at all. I think the people who are supporting him are fairly misguided in their analysis. I think the way that Luigi's killing comes from a deep place of frustration. I think the support of Luigi also comes from that deep place of frustration.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine much good comes out of this.
Okay.
At all.
I definitely struggle more to give such an absolute moral judgment to this. Just because I like all of the people who have come out in support of Luigi, I can at the very least understand where this is coming from.
Yeah.
It's not just because maybe he or other people that he knows and loves get screwed over and driven to bankruptcy by the American health insurance system, but it's also that there has been no significant strong movement politically in America to one of the other healthcare systems that exist around the world that have solved all of the problems that we hate so much and we struggle and that frustrate people so much that it can drive one to killing the CEO of one of these companies.
Yeah.
So there you can at least start with understanding there.
Which I do understand.
You understand?
I get
yes,
it. I understand. Yeah.
But then the problem is how do you respond to it? What he has obviously succeeded in doing is drawing attention.
Obviously. There is now, listen, Americans haven't been talking about healthcare for a good couple of years now. I think that conversation may reignite.
Yes.
Maybe not in the political sphere because of the current president, whatever. But I think that there will be a more heightened focus on healthcare in the coming years because of this.
And I think that's why he he deserved some credit at being effective at something, right? Like sure, even if it wasn't a good thing that happened, like he at least succeeded in one of his goals, which was clearly to draw attention to this problem.
I suppose. I suppose that is the case.
The issue, my initial issue with it, was now you put it in a place where you have victimized the enemy.
Absolutely.
Right? So you have victimized
Totally.
the person who is causing the problems, which means if you do, I've been trying to imagine some way that this makes it into the discourse of politicians. And Elizabeth Warren, a perfect example. Senator Elizabeth Warren out of Massachusetts, she said something about how this should just be a sign to all greedy CEOs who are profiting off of the suffering of the people that they are serving, who are trying to withhold services and basically drive shitty companies to people for the sake of profits. A warning as to what can happen. She's immediately panned by everyone. They take it as her supporting an assassination,
Right,
and she has to come out.
I mean, that's
she has to come out and release a statement that's saying, like, I should have made it clear I did not mean that at all. That's not what I was going for. But that's the problem with this particular decision, like this action to take, is that for it to get into the political discourse as something, as like a reason to consider changing policy, you have to admit, like, yeah, I'm agreeing with, I'm in some way resonating with the assassin.
And it makes it hard to push for reform, I think, because now it's like, wait a second. Do we want to reward political violence with a victory in any way?
Yeah, it's like, do we negotiate with terrorism? Well, we kind of, if we do this.
Right, exactly. So like one of the things that I was talking about with someone last night is maybe CEOs and these health insurance companies might reduce their profit margins and increase their payouts in order to stop their CEOs from getting threats or whatever. I don't think they'll do that because they don't want to encourage this type of behavior, and that's what would happen.
Oh, I don't think that's why they won't do it.
Well, obviously, okay, they won't do it for like 18,000 different reasons, right? They won't do it because that's not their incentive. They're
scared of being killed.
Yeah,
like that's no, that's why you're saying the fear of being killed won't be strong enough.
Yes.
To make them do that.
Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with. But the reason this gets a little bit hazier to me is, like, there are already reports of CEOs beefing up their securities for fear of copycats.
Yes.
And okay. Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk me down from the radical edge. But I'm not saying that I support this. But
it's a bad thing that they're spending more money that we give them to our healthcare premiums to spend on security, right?
Not just healthcare CEOs, other CEOs. But my point is more like, I could imagine this going a route where copycats do pop up.
Yes.
So we should explain why that is, because Luigi is being hailed as a hero, and because girls are thirsting over him, which
wrong.
is a huge part of this and such an important, like, incentive in our society.
It is a huge moment. It's the same. It reminds me so much of the way girls were fawning over Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
During his trial and everything, the serial killer. It is not good. I was just scrolling reels in between this recording session, and I saw like 8 videos of girls talking about how hot Luigi was.
Yeah.
And it's not good to be idolizing murder as a political weapon. Mm-hmm. It's not good.
But it has.
But it's happening.
Yes. And so we have to, I don't know, I'm more, the neutral analysis is where I kind of want to say it's happening. We have a sexy assassin, right? A sexy assassin who although is now a murderer, he has murdered someone who perpetuates a system that is harmful to the masses. Very much, like, I cannot help but see French Revolution similarities here. Right?
This is where I will disagree.
Okay.
I think this is actually an important difference between the French Revolution fight against monarchy. This is about to get very philosophical right now. I think this is an important difference between the fight against monarchy and the fight against capitalism. Because when you take down the monarch, the system actually does collapse. When you take down a CEO, they just hire another one.
But I think you're right. But as far as systemic change, Period. The reason I want to go to the copycats and
Yeah.
the possibility that that's true, and if CEOs are beefing up their security, it means they at least believe that there is
some belief
there's a
that-
real possibility. That will force action in government. Like there will, if they're seeing, okay, what our policy now enables is people to get this crazy that they are going out and killing the CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that would make a change.
Okay,
like if
that is very
2 or
interesting.
4 or 10 more CEOs got assassinated.
Oh man. See, I mean, like, I don't know how to feel about this. Do I think that America would respond heavily to this? I mean, let's go back in time, okay? In the 1800s, when railroad workers were organizing, and they fucking went on strike, and they flipped cars over, and all this crazy stuff, and then police ended up shooting at them, and then there were fights and there were bombings. We did get labor reforms from.
I just think, like, if we want to look at the broad strokes of history,
Yeah. This is something,
extremism forces response.
right? Extremism does force response. There's a great story. This is super fucking nerdy, but this is important, I think. Silesia was one of the first regions, and this is all going to come around, I promise.
I believe you.
One of the first regions of Germany to industrialize.
Okay.
And they were also the first to like live in this industrial capitalism state where they were like, they were suffering from industrialization more than they were benefiting. And so the owners of the textile mills were, all their employees were like living in tents and rags and shit. And then like a recession hit the area, and the people stormed their owner's mansion, cooked him, and ate him alive. And then throughout the German government's time in like the 1870s, the 1880s, 1890s, they would cite that as a reason why they need national health insurance, so that the people don't get so mad that they burn you and eat you. And that's like kind of where we're at right now with Luigi, I think. That's kind of what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why, yes, I dislike this method of inciting change.
Yeah.
But I also think it's easy to argue for its efficacy.
It would be wrong for us to say that it doesn't. It would be wrong to say it doesn't put any type of lever towards change, right?
Exactly.
Right. It would be wrong to say it has no effect. I think.
Do you want to argue that it's not enough of an effect?
I want to argue that it's not effective. Whether it might be 1 degree of effectiveness, it might be 2 degrees of effectiveness. There are things that are 10 degrees of effectiveness that Luigi
still aren't effective?
That could have been more effective. Luigi seemed to be a smart guy.
Okay.
He could have done more with his life than murder some random guy who's just going to be rehired.
Maybe, but again, focus on this goal. Like, say he has this specific goal. What is he going to do? Is he going to spend the rest of his life climbing the political ladder until he has a chance to have a voice that is a loud one, yet still a voice in a sea of other voices of democratic discourse?
Or is he going to control the New York Times front page for 5 days?
Immediately.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, in his Goodreads, he gave a lot of reviews of a bunch of books.
Yeah.
And he admired the Unabomber quite a lot.
Yes.
He admired the Unabomber quite a lot.
Yes.
And he basically said, he's like, when all other methods of change are over, all you have left is violence. And, he supported something that the Unabomber called the law of the jungle. All right. That's what he was kind of talking about, the law of the jungle.
Okay.
And this was his idea of trying to make change.
Do you know much about the Unabomber's manifesto or his philosophy?
Not much.
Okay. I don't either. But what I think we can make an interesting contrast between, I don't think there was ever any fawning or support for the Unabomber.
Some.
Okay. But it didn't get big.
No. Well, the Unabomber killed innocents.
Yes.
But innocents. Luigi didn't kill innocent. He had a reason for the person he was killing.
Yes.
Right.
So that's at least one reason why it seems like it makes more sense for Luigi to have gained support. The other person I've been thinking about, though, is the guy who tried to assassinate Trump earlier this year. And nothing built around him.
No.
Right? There was no support. Everyone was like, "Oh, holy shit. This is the thing that happened." There were probably some liberals who whispered in hushed tones, if only. Right? But no one was
no one was actually happy
holding
that Trump
him up
almost
as a
died.
hero.
Yeah, no.
So we have this. It's a very specific situation in that he is attractive, in that people can kind of mine through his Twitter, or like people have had experience with him, and there's, so it's weird that there's space for positive discourse about this person right now.
It's very strange. I mean, he was valedictorian.
Yes.
You can watch his valedictorian speech. You can read his Goodreads reviews that are very, eloquent. They're like good reads.
Yes.
It's funny. But like, it's interesting that he went to UPenn. Like,
Yep.
he's not an idiot.
No.
And it's, I don't know.
It just is. I just think it's very.
Finish your thought.
I see opportunity. Like, my understanding of human nature makes me believe that, makes me understand that at least one person who is seeing all this, this could push them to be like, I'll do something crazy too. And that is frightening.
That's really bad. That's really bad. The idea that this could cause copycat killers is really scary.
Yeah.
I'm going to edit this part out because I want to say one more thing, but I forgot what it was going to be.
Okay. I keep thinking on it. The only thing that I will talk to is it's very scary and extremely destabilizing.
There you go.
But also would have the potential for more change than we have seen since maybe 9/11. If things like that happen, I don't know if one more killing would, but like 3 more. As soon as people, if it was picked up on as a pattern, then I think people would sit down and be like, okay, we need to do something to stop this.